We're reading Deuteronomy chapters 22 through 24. Deuteronomy chapter 22. If you see your brother Israelite's ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it. Make sure you return it to your brother. If your brother does not live near you, or you don't know him, you are to bring the animal to your home to remain with you until your brother comes looking for it. Then you can return it to him. Do the same for his donkey, his garment, or anything your brother has lost and you have found. You must not ignore it. If you see your brother's donkey or ox fallen down on the road, do not ignore it. Help him lift it up. Love others as you love yourselves, guys. A woman is not to wear male clothing, and a man is not to put on woman's garments. For anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord your God. If you come across a bird's nest with chicks or eggs, either in a tree or on the ground along the road, and the mother is sitting on the chicks or eggs, do not take the mother along with the young. You may take the young for yourself, but be sure to let the mother go free, so that you may prosper and live long. If you build a new house, make a railing around your roof, so that you don't bring blood guilt on your house if someone falls from it. Do not plant your vineyard with two types of seed, otherwise the entire harvest, both the crop you plant and the produce of the vineyard, will be defiled. Just like us, guys, we can't be a good tree and produce bad fruit. We can't be an apple tree and an orange tree at the same time. You understand? We are to pick a side, not be lukewarm. There's no in the middle. If you're for God, be for God. Do not plow with an ox and a donkey together. Do not wear clothes made of both wool and linen. Make tassels on the four corners of the outer garment Make tassels on the four corners of the outer garment you wear. If a man marries a woman, has sexual relations with her, and comes to hate her, and accuses her of shameful conduct, and gives her a bad name, saying, I married this woman and was intimate with her, but I didn't find any evidence of her virginity. The young woman's father and mother will take the evidence of her virginity and bring it to the city elders at the city gate. The young woman's father will say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, but he hates her. He has accused her of shameful conduct, saying, I didn't find any evidence of your daughter's virginity, but here is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. They will spread out the clothes before the city elders. Then the elders of that city will take the man and punish him. They will also fine him 100 silver shekels and give them to the young woman's father, because that man gave an Israelite virgin a bad name. She will remain his wife. He cannot divorce her as long as he lives. This is the same as us Christians and Jesus Christ. The people that persecute us because they don't like us, because they hate us because of the words that we speak to them, to give them life. We step out and we point out their sin out of love, not out of thinking we're better than them. We point out our own sin as well, so that they could relate, so that they could see that we don't think we're perfect, yet they don't hear that part. What they see is you're pointing out their sin, so they say that you hate them, that you think you're better than them. And this is the trick and the deception that the enemy puts in their minds. But Christ will avenge us. But if this accusation is true and no evidence of the young woman's virginity is found, they will bring the woman to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city will stone her to death, for she has committed an outrage in Israel by being promiscuous while living in her father's house. You must purge the evil from you. Notice how many times the Bible says, purge the evil from you. Do away with it. Get rid of it. Have nothing to do with it. If a man is discovered having sexual relations with another man's wife, both the man who had sex with the woman and the woman must die, but not purge the evil from Israel. You must purge the evil from Israel. If there is a young woman who is a virgin engaged to a man, and another man encounters her in the city and sleeps with her, take the two of them out to the gate of that city and stone them to death. The young woman, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he has violated his neighbor's fiancée. You must purge the evil from you. But if the man encounters an engaged woman in the open country, and he seizes and rapes her, only the man who raped her must die. Because it was not the woman's decision. The woman cried out for help. The woman did not want to be raped. She did not want to give it up, but the man forcefully took it anyways. Do nothing to the young woman, because she is not guilty of an offense deserving death. This case is just like one in which a man attacks his neighbor and murders him. When he found her in the field, the engaged woman cried out, but there was no one to rescue her. If a man encounters a young woman, a virgin, who is not engaged, takes hold of her and rapes her, and they are discovered, the man who raped her is to give the young woman's father 50 silver shekels, and she will become his wife, because he violated her. He cannot divorce her as long as he lives. A man is not to marry his father's wife. He must not violate his father's marriage bed. I want to go back to a point up here that I saw. So right here where it talks about murder, it says this case is just like one in which a man attacks his neighbor and murders him. So it is the same as when a man doesn't intentionally murder somebody. Okay? I just wanted to touch on that real quick. The man who raped her is to give the young woman's father 50 silver shekels, and she will become his wife, because he violated her. He cannot divorce her as long as he lives. A man is not to marry his father's wife. He must not violate his father's marriage bed. No man whose testicles have been crushed or whose penis has been cut off may enter the Lord's assembly. Because that man is defiled, the same way you will not defile or offer to the Lord an animal that is blemished, an animal that has some type of defect. No one of illegitimate birth may enter the Lord's assembly. None of his descendants, even to the 10th generation, may enter the Lord's assembly. The Lord is perfect, guys. He is clean. He is spotless. Imperfection cannot stand in his presence. That's why when we get washed in the blood of Jesus Christ, we are made righteous through his righteousness. And we have a boldness to stand before the Lord with confidence, because we will not drop dead, because we are covered in God's righteousness. No Ammonite or Moabite may enter the Lord's assembly. None of their descendants, even to the 10th generation, may ever enter the Lord's assembly. This is because they did not meet you with food and water on the journey after you came out of Egypt. And because Balaam, son of Beor, from Pethor in Aram Naharim, was hired to curse you. Yet the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam, but he turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. Never pursue their welfare or prosperity as long as you live. Do not despise an Edomite, because he is your brother. Do not despise an Egyptian, because you were a resident alien in his land. The children born to them in the 3rd generation may enter the Lord's assembly. Listen, guys, do not despise an Egyptian, because you were a resident alien in his land. Up here, verse 7. Do not despise an Edomite because he is your brother. Do not despise an Egyptian because you were a resident alien in his land. This goes for sinners along with people who are saved. People who are saved should not hate sinners because they were once in the same shoes as that sinner, so they should be able to relate. This is the whole reason why God became flesh and dwelt among us. So that he could relate to us. He knows what it's like. He knows the temptations that we have, the attacks that come against us. He knows what it is to be in the flesh. The children born to them in the third generation may enter the Lord's assembly. When you are encamped against your enemies, be careful to avoid anything offensive. If there is a man among you who is unclean because of a bodily emission during the night, he must go outside the camp. He may not come anywhere inside the camp. When evening approaches, he is to wash with water, and when the sun sets, he may come inside the camp. Remember, we are to love our brothers and sisters as we love ourselves. Do not cause your brother or sister to stumble. This is why the New Testament says, if eating meat will cause my brother or sister to stumble, I will never eat meat again a day in my life. Because you love them as you love yourself. This is love. To do anything other than this, knowing that it's going to cause your brother or sister to stumble, knowing that it's causing them sin, is sin not against them, but against God himself. Because you know better, and you know you're the cause for his sin. When evening approaches, he is to wash with water, and when the sun sets, he may come inside the camp. You are to have a place outside the camp and go there to relieve yourself. You are to have a digging tool in your equipment when you relieve yourself. Dig a hole with it and cover up your excrement. What is this resembling, guys? You cover it up so that somebody else doesn't come along and step in it and get dirty and full of your crap. For the Lord your God walks throughout your camp to protect you and deliver your enemies to you. So your encampments must be holy. He must not see anything indecent among you, or he will turn away from you. God is perfect. Do not return a slave to his master when he has escaped from his master to you. Let him live among you wherever he wants within your city gates. Do not mistreat him. No Israelite woman is to be a cult prostitute, and no Israelite man is to be a cult prostitute. Do not bring a female prostitute's wages or a male prostitute's earnings into the house of the Lord your God to fulfill any vow, because both are detestable to the Lord your God. Do not charge your brother interest on silver, food, or anything that can earn interest. You may charge a foreigner interest, but you must not charge your brother Israelite interest, so that the Lord your God may bless you in everything you do in the land you are entering to possess. If you make a vow to the Lord your God, do not be slow to keep it, because he will require it of you, and it will be counted against you as sin. But if you refrain from making a vow, it will not be counted against you as sin. Be careful to do whatever comes from your lips, because you have freely vowed what you promised to the Lord your God. That's why it said, it's better not to make a promise. Let your yes be yes and no mean no. Be careful. Don't make promises, because you will be held accountable for that promise to see it through. When you enter your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat as many grapes as you want until you are full, but do not put any in your container. When you enter your neighbor's standing grain, you may pluck heads of grain with your hand, but do not put a sickle to your neighbor's grain. If a man marries a woman, but she becomes displeasing to him, because he finds something indecent about her, he may write her a divorce certificate, hand it to her, and send her away from his house. If after leaving his house she goes and becomes another man's wife, and the second man hates her, writes her a divorce certificate, hands it to her, and sends her away from his house, or if he dies, the first husband who sent her away may not marry her again after she has been defiled by the other man, because that would be detestable to the Lord. You must not bring guilt on the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Remember, this is not how it was from the beginning, guys. Moses gave this law because they were weak. They would be falling into sin. Remember what we were talking about, not causing your brother or sister to sin? This is what Moses was doing when Moses gave them this very command. From the beginning, God made them male and female, and the two become one flesh. There's no separation when you are one. When a man takes a bride, he must not go out with the army or be liable for any duty. He is free to stay at home for 1 year so that he can bring joy to the wife he has married. Do not take a pair of grindstones or even the upper millstone as security for a debt, because that is like taking a life as security. If a man is discovered kidnapping one of his Israelite brothers, whether he treats him as a slave or sells him, the kidnapper must die. You must purge the evil from you. Be careful with a person who has a case of serious skin disease, following carefully everything the Levitical priest instructs you to do. Be careful to do as I have commanded them. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam on the journey after you left Egypt. So remember, guys, if a man has a skin disease, right? Just like a lot of us, a lot of people, a lot of Christians, a lot of non-Christians are sick in their flesh to their sin. They have sins that they cannot get rid of, sins that they do not want to let go because they don't want to give all of themselves to God. So they're holding apart from themselves. Be very careful how you deal with these people, that sin does not rub off on you. When you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, do not enter his house to collect what he offers as security. Stand outside while the man you are making the loan to brings the security out to you. If he is a poor man, do not sleep with the garment he has given as security. Be sure to return it to him at sunset. Then he will sleep in it and bless you, and this will be counted as righteousness to you before the Lord your God. Do not oppress a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether one of your Israelite brothers or one of the resident aliens in a town in your land. So what he is saying up here, guys, in this about this garment situation, if your brother gives you a garment as a deposit for whatever he is lending you, but you know that brother or sister is poor, even though they were not able to pay on time, do not keep that deposit. Do not go and put it on and defile it so that man can't put it back on afterwards. But you wait and you give that man time to pay you back, and then you go and you give back to him, even though that deposit should be rightfully yours. You go and you give it back to him, because this will be counted as righteousness on your side. Be sure to turn it to him at sunset. Then he will sleep in it and bless you, and this will be counted as righteousness to you before the Lord your God. Do not oppress a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether one of your Israelite brothers or one of the resident aliens in a town in your land. You are to pay him his wages each day before the sun sets, because he is poor and depends on them. Otherwise, he will cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be held guilty. Fathers are not to be put to death for their children, and children are not to be put to death for their fathers. Each person will be put to death for his own sin. Do not deny justice to a resident alien or fatherless child, and do not take a widow's garment as security. You understand? You will not go to hell because of your father's sins. God will righteously and justly give you opportunity to get saved. You understand? This is not talking about generational curses that come following your bloodline. Those you need to break off of you. But aside from that, you will not go to hell because of your father's sin. You will go to hell for your own sin if you don't get right with the Lord. The Lord will give you opportunity and to get right with him. You understand? He's not going to send you to hell because of the sin that your father committed. Each man will be judged for their own sin. Remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this. When you reap the harvest in your field, and you forget a sheaf in the field, do not go back to get it. It is to be left for the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you knock down the fruit from your olive tree, do not go over the branches again. What remains will be for the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, do not glean what is left. What remains will be for the resident alien, the fatherless, and the widow. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this.